We've all got scars, some on the outside and some on the inside. But we can't be defined by our scars. I've spoken with some extraordinary people about how they've become empowered by their scars. This is I've Got Scars, baby.
Okay. All right. So I'm super excited about this particular interview. We have a very special guest on the show today. Her name is Jasmine Diaz. Miss Jasmine Diaz. Okay. So people are going to want to know. They're going to want to get to know you is what I'm trying to say. Okay. Especially these days because Jasmine is a celebrity matchmaker. Yep. Matchmaker and dating strategist. You've seen her everywhere. You've seen her, she contributes to from TVOne, Essence, all types of stuff. She's teaching people, especially Black folk, like how to get together. This is what we're going to do. This is what love is like. She's a mom. She's a wife. She's a business owner doing her thing. And I'm so excited to have you on the show because we got some things to talk about because the way the outlook, it seems, has been on love and relationships, especially during this time, has been a little bleak.
Yeah.
It has been a little bleak. So we are going to talk about the scars of dating and believing in love again. So welcome. Thank you so much, Jasmine, for being here.
You.
I appreciate you. But, I just want to let you know, though, Jasmine, that this concept of like quarantine, I was, quarantining and just kind of, it's been difficult for people to meet, right? It's been really difficult for people to meet. And I'm so grateful personally that, because it was really hard for me at first. And eventually I did, get a chance to connect with someone really, really special. And so, I just felt like this was a really wonderful opportunity to, share, to, for you to connect, for you to meet him, basically. I would love to get your advice. And you let me know what your thoughts are, because I know you're, the guru for this. So...
Yes. I'm excited to see and hear and, participate. So
yeah. But I just want you to meet him really quick. Babe, come on over here. I want you to meet Jasmine. So,
ooh, look at them eyes.
Yes. We're not going to talk about that. He's kind of sensitive about that stuff. But this is Trevor. And, he's, what I love about him and appreciate about him is that, he's real quiet. He kind of is to himself. So, he's not always in the business. He's never interrupting the movies when we're Netflixing and chilling. You know what I'm saying? He's just kind of chill. He got his quarantine beard going on right there.
I see it.
Yeah. So, he's kind of low maintenance, just a little water. Mm-hmm. Every couple days.
He's got a little melanin in there too. Look at that color.
That's what I'm saying. And it's just, I'm just grateful for him. Thank you. I appreciate you for holding it down with me during quarantine. But that's what I'm saying. It's a part of me is just kind of wondering, well, where is love? What's going on? Mm-hmm. Because, it can't just be, as much as Trevor is pretty cool, he's probably a little too quiet.
Okay.
Me.
Yeah.
Okay. So
you're going to be able to take him outside.
Yeah. So I'm not going to say that's a forever thing, but, for the moment, I guess it'll be all right. So, but seriously, we're going to get into this. We got to talk. Let's talk about, first of all, your work and what you do. A dating strategist, a matchmaker. Let's talk about that. What is that? And it sounds delightful.
Yeah. So matchmaking, I like to say it's like me fishing for you. Date strategy is more about me teaching you how to fish on your own. So what most matchmakers do is, they facilitate introductions to singles. So people you didn't know previously, we vet, we screen, and we introduce. So that's the matchmaking side. But as far as date strategy, for my point of view, it's a little bit different from traditional coaching because it's all about trying to strategize and create the best process for an individual client, helping them, reach their desired outcome. And that strategy may be different from person to person, depending on who they are, and what their goals might happen to be.
Okay. Nice. Okay. All right. So I love that. And I see that you work primarily or a lot of times with the Black community and within the Black community.
Yes.
And connecting. We're going to get into the nitty gritty. So what have you seen? This is what you do. You connect people, you connect singles with one another. What have you seen is kind of like as being a barrier to love?
Wow. I mean, that's kind of tough because I think that oftentimes people are saying the same things, like men say the same things. It's hard for me to find a quality woman. And women say the same exact thing. It's hard for me to find a quality man. But I think the hardship comes into like the manner in which people are connecting. I think what's been interesting about COVID is that now it's slowed a lot of people down and making them think more clearly about what they want in a partner and what they need. And so I think oftentimes if you're not really clear on those things, that's why it's so difficult to find somebody.
Got you. That makes sense. Okay. So when we're talking about this concept of there's no good men out there, there's no good women out there. I mean, why do you think people feel that way? Like, what is that? Is it just the programming? Is it just their previous experience that they're projecting? What do you think that is?
Well, I think it's a combination of things. If we think about like how we're used to connecting with people now in the dating space, we have apps, and the swipe culture, creates a bit of an issue in many ways because it's like you really don't get to know someone at their core enough. So those challenges are present because of that element. Your location might make it, really interesting. So if you're in LA, for example, we spent a lot of time in our car pre-COVID. And so it's just hard to make connections with people organically. So that might be the issue. Expectations tends to play a large part of that too. Most people have very high, unrealistic expectations about their partners and what the partner should possess, who they are in relation to their type. So those obstacles, if you combine all these things together, just makes it, a situation where most people just aren't having the connections that they want. But I think that it's really important to understand your why, which is why are you seeking a partner, in order to find your how, which is your how to find that person.
Okay. So when you say unrealistic expectations, let's dive into that. Because I mean, you don't want to have somebody that's barely making it.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I guess you're trying to say, like, if you barely making it, like, what, why do you want someone that is in a better position necessarily? So what do you feel like are expectations that actually would make sense for someone to have? Or when do you think is too much to expect?
Wow. So there's so many ways to answer that because I think, it really comes down to the person that you are. So for example, if you're a type A person, a lot of times, a lot of people who are really driven, successful, career oriented, they want someone who's exactly the same, but they don't necessarily take into consideration the qualities, the values of a person who is like that, which might actually conflict with the person you are. So that makes the expectation unrealistic. It doesn't necessarily mean that, what you're seeking specifically is unrealistic, but it might be too high and unrealistic for you. So, so that might be one element or component. You know, sometimes it is a difference between the person that you are and the person you're trying to attract, because the other part of that is that that person has their own goals and expectations of their companion, right? They have their own list, so to speak. And so if you think about that, you know, you have to consider how you might measure up to their list, and you might not actually be at that same level. You might aspire to be at that level, but you aren't realistically. So that takes you out of their pool option. So it's always, you know, challenging to get people to understand that the list is kind of like, it's somewhat of a guideline, but it isn't necessarily your how-to. So remaining flexible gives you the option to expand your pool, to expand your ideas about dating and relationships overall, so that you could, you know, be in the best possible position for finding love.
Got you. Okay. Wow. So okay, so, and maybe this is just me being idealistic, but like these lists, I understand that you want to have standards for yourself, but like you said, sometimes whatever's on paper, it might look like this is the person that you should be with, but not necessarily the person that you should be with in real life.
Yeah.
And so this concept of connection and chemistry, and because you can have, that person can have all of the specifics on paper, but you get around them and there is no vibe, there's no chemistry, there's no connection. You don't even like the person at all. Like, you're like, I would not even want to be your friend.
Yeah.
You know, that is a possibility. I mean, obviously the opposite is possible as well, but is there a situation where you just find someone and you just connect and vibe, and it's just like, wow, you're a dope, wonderful human being? Like, is there, you know what I'm saying? Like, is there a balance between, wow, you're pretty decent on paper, but not necessarily exactly what I would have wanted, but like, I love being around you and I feel really deeply connected to you.
Yeah.
In real life. Is there a balance? Is there and if so, what is the easiest way to find that?
Yeah, I mean, that is like the thing, right? Everybody's looking for that thing. I think, you know, what happens for a lot of singles is they get attached to ideas, right? So the list is an idea, right? It's not factual, it's not, you know, manifested. It's what we ideate about, like, what we want in a partner. So oftentimes when we think about these things, you know, you spend your time, you know, in relationships, you learn what you want, what you don't want in a partner. And then you know, you spend some time really evaluating, you know, do I want this? Do I not want that? The idea is where a lot of people get stuck, because it puts you really in a position of not being flexible or willing to go outside of your realm or your box. So you miss these possible connections with people in organic ways, because you're so confined to this idea or this goal that you have. You know, I often like to say, like, you know, Jay-Z and Beyonce is kind of like the power couple idea. And for a lot of, you know, people, Will and Jada was as well. And so when you have these people in your mind, even your own parents, you know, could be some idea that you have that you want to model yourself after. You put yourself, you know, in these positions to potentially miss all of the really great options. So I think in the ideal world, it would be great for people to be more open to the possibilities of meeting somebody who maybe isn't on that list. It's almost like you don't know what you don't know until you meet it. You know, you might think, you know, you're totally against, I don't know, like athletes, but you find that one really amazing one who has a 7-figure career, and it's blowing your mind. I mean, so it's just like, you have to be open to the possibilities and not stuck on your ideas.
Got you. So I like to get into kind of the psychology of things a little bit too.
Yeah.
what do you feel like is one of the reasons that people kind of do get connected and attached to their list? Do you think it's at all any type of, could it be a defense mechanism? Could it be, you know, an element of fear involved? Or what do you think that is in your experience?
Yeah, I think it's all inclusive. You know, I think that our environment plays a large part in how we choose our partners. So if we think about that in the broadest scheme, it's kind of like, you know, how you grew up, you know, the experiences that you've had, the relationships you've had, you know, other people's experiences that you've perceived. Those things kind of contribute to the ideas that we have about relationships. And so it's really difficult for you to change your perception about something if your experience says different or you've perceived it differently. That is probably one of the reasons why I think it's so difficult for people to segue, because they are, again, really attached to the idea of what something is and what it means for them, even though that idea might be completely contradictory to the person that they are. So it's a challenge, I think, for a lot of people to understand that sometimes the list is a detriment. And I find that a lot of singles, you know, they come into like the matchmaking space feeling like they know what it is that they want in a partner, but what you need is more valuable. And I find that most people actually don't consider at all what they need to be in a relationship and to be happy. They often find, you know, they think it's the same thing. What you want, and this is kind of like an analogy I use often, is like what you want is like junk food. You know, you can eat it up every day. It makes you full, really exciting. Like, I love cakes and candies, but it's not healthy for you, right? And so if you overindulge in the unhealthy, then you'll find yourself sick at some point. And so how to kind of heal yourself in that way is thinking a little bit more broadly about what it is that you need in a relationship. And, you know, and how to find that, you know, and the list kind of takes you away from the need, because it's really easy to get focused on him having to be tall and, you know, having 6-figure, you know, salary or a nice, you know, ab pack or whatever. But, you know, you want someone that has the longevity to be in a relationship. You really have to think more about that.
Yeah. So how do you feel like we or singles can tap into what we need? Like, what are some questions, or how do we do that? How do we really find that out? Because sometimes it can be a little difficult to really understand what you need versus what you really just want.
Yeah. So first place to start, I'm like an advocate for the question why. It's like, why are you here? Why you want to be in a partnership with someone? You don't necessarily want to be with someone because they're tall. So, you know, you have to think about, things in that terms. But the why is the answer to so many questions. I'm always, you know, talking to clients about like evaluating that and then breaking it down even further. I actually have a guide that's called Find Your Match Action Plan, and it basically highlights your top 10 wants and your top 10 needs. So if you think about, you know, where to start on how to like figure that out, write down your top 10 wants, and then think about what it is that you need, your top 10 needs, and they shouldn't be the same. So your wants would really be, you know, the superficial things to the core. If you really think about it, you know, you want him to be smart, you want him to be, you know, educated, you want him to have this degree or whatever, or her, you know, not just him. But then the other side of that in the wants category, or in the needs category, is what is it that you need to be in a sustaining relationship? And really spend some time evaluating that part. And then question the why behind that answer is the even bigger part. So if you say, I need someone who is trustworthy, why? So, and then really think through your environmental impact, the experiences that you've had in relationships. Was your parents, you know, married, you know, did an ex break your heart? I mean, you have to really start thinking more in depth to get to the need. And oftentimes most people don't really want to do that work to find that answer.
Wow. So really diving in there to get to the core of things. So a part of this, believing in love again. Okay. So, I started getting, becoming a part of certain like groups, and I've seen certain singles groups like online or whatnot. And I just kind of listen to what people say and look at what people post sometimes. And I'm gonna just be honest with you, like, it kind of makes me sad sometimes. I'm like, I don't think, like, it seems like we just keep missing each other.
Yeah.
Like, I hear you when you say that we do really want some of the same things, but we keep missing each other.
Yeah.
And it's like, but I also believe from a spiritual perspective, you can write down your wants, you can write down your needs, but if you don't believe, if you don't know that it is possible for you to receive these things, these things that you're asking for, then you won't be able to receive what you're asking for.
Yeah, I mean, that's a really big thing. I am huge on manifestation.
Yeah.
I'm really big on, understanding your value and not placing limits on it. I think that so many people create their own self-fulfilling prophecy, but just how they, emit things, in the words that they speak, in the choices that they make. It's kind of like going against what you say you want. But I think another reason why people are missing each other is that we don't actually spend time listening. And I think the thing that I've taken away from matchmaking over the years of doing this is the biggest piece of it is listening to people, hearing what they say, but also not what is said. Because that's another part of it. It's like sometimes someone can tell you something, but what isn't being spoken on is even more revealing. And it allows you to see things a little bit more clearly. And if your belief system is such that you feel like all men are cheaters, or, all women are gold diggers, or whatever your belief system is, then it's almost like you're reinforcing these ideas. And of course, you're not going to meet the right one. You're just going to continue to miss it. So I absolutely think that correcting the way in which you think has power. And also spending some time being a listener instead of, just emitting and trying to take from others.
Yes. Okay. I'm so glad that you said that. Like, we have so much power, and I don't think that we always understand exactly how much power we have. It's like, if you choose to believe that this is the way things are, that is the way things will always show up for you.
Yeah.
And I think that, and I'm just talking about my own work, this concept of believing again, this concept of, you know what, you have to, like, whatever you've been through, and I liken it to scars, like, to know that there can be something beautiful and powerful after having maybe a traumatic experience, whether it's a burn or whether it's a bad relationship. It takes a lot of faith. It takes a lot of work. It takes a lot of mental discipline to even get yourself in the frame of mind that good can come from this. And I just don't, like, I really want that to, like, people to settle in on that. Like, it applies in every area of your life.
Sure.
It can't just say, oh, well, I have faith when it comes to getting my next job, but what, you got to apply that same faith to come and getting your next boo, so, or your bae, whatever. So, okay. So what do you feel like people can do to kind of get back on that road to believing again? And here's the thing, and I've said this before, because sometimes, as a single person, you might hear like a married person. It's like married people just be like, just take your time. Or they'll
Right.
say, like, it ain't that difficult. It's pretty smooth. Or some people might even say, look, child, I done been through the ringer, so I understand. But when you're in that space, when you're just in that space of like, I don't know what to do, but stuff ain't working out.
Yeah.
What do you feel like are some internal things to do, just like self-work, and then also some external things to do, like, do I need to just call up Jasmine and like, hey, hook a sister up or hook a brother up? You know, like, what are some things that people can do right now?
That's a hard one. I think because I actually did a video on this like last year. And it was about the lies that we tell ourselves about relationships, and reprogramming the messaging that we say internally and even experience externally is a very, very hard thing to do.
Yeah.
And I think where we start with trying to heal that is acknowledgement, because so many people are in denial about where they are, just personally and in relationships as well, and kind of like what occurred that caused them to be where they are. I'm a big advocate for the idea that being single is not a problem. It's not like a death sentence. So if you find yourself being alone, there's nothing wrong with that. It only becomes a problem until you feel like it's a problem. And so it really takes the recognition first to acknowledge, like, okay, there might be a problem here, and a willingness to actually put in the time to evaluate what happened in a past relationship, what's happened to you, how you've contributed to the situation that you're in that you don't want to be in. I just want to be clear that, if it's something you don't want, then that's a thing. But really the acknowledgement is the first step. And then it's all about trying to figure out, okay, what steps do I take beyond that? Once I recognize it, how do I stop myself from, repeating the same patterns in relationships? For some people, it might be therapy, like straight up. As a matchmaker, I'm not a magician. There's things I can't do, and there are some issues, experiences that you've had in your life that have impacted you in ways that a matchmaker or a coach just can't help. So maybe the answer for some is spending that little coin that you have and investing in therapy to overcome some of those areas, or at least get it addressed. So that's more of like the work that could be done. But I think externally, what's really helpful for a lot of people is dating with intention, and having a really clear idea about why. Again, why is like my thing, but why you're doing what you're doing, and the steps it might take to actually do that. So many places we could go, but I'd say like that's like the first, couple of great steps.
Okay. I'm glad that you said examine why you're doing what you're doing, because I'll use myself as an example. At one point in time, I found myself seeking a relationship to kind of escape what I did not really appreciate about what was going on in my life at the moment. And so you're just trying to distract, like I was just trying to distract myself.
Yeah.
Like, okay, I am not feeling fulfilled right now. Let me go and get into a relationship. Not a good reason to get into a relationship. So but you would never admit that to yourself.
No.
Typically.
No.
You don't want to feel like that, but it's like you have to be that honest, I think, getting to the real nitty gritty of like, why am I really doing this? I think that's incredibly important. So another thing I thought about, and I do want to talk about, we'll talk about the external things, like other things and tools you think would be valuable. But what are your thoughts? Because I feel like there can be a lot of confusion, because right now there are so many like love and relationship coaches and and everybody online, and you're getting all types of information from various sources. How do you feel a person could best navigate that kind of territory? Because you could get conflicting information, you could get, and so you're kind of confused. What do you feel like is the best way to navigate that?
That's hard because you're right. I mean, there's so much information. It's overwhelming. But I think that, what's important when you're thinking about like how you're trying to answer some of these questions for yourself, is whose voice resonates with you. Because I think that that's the biggest piece. Like a lot of us experts, we say the same things, but it's just the messaging or the delivery of the message that is going to be different from person to person. Very few of us are really like coming out with like extreme Oprah aha moments that you've never heard of before in your life. So I'd say that it's all about trying to figure out which voice you want to follow, and whether or not it actually makes sense for the person that you are. Is it something that you can put into practice right away, as opposed to buying a bunch of books and CDs and investing financially, because that's a very big pit you can fall into with self-help just in general. I believe that, the best experts provide resources for free. You don't necessarily have to spend a lot to get the help that you really need. Of course, if you're talking about matchmaking, of course, you're going to have to invest something. But I think when you're navigating just the terrain of information, there's ways for you to get what you need without having to spend a lot. So it's all about trying to figure out whose voice is a voice that you connect with, who understands the experience that you're having, and is articulating in a way that actually feels like it's helpful, is the biggest piece.
Okay. I like that. Because I always think if something resonates with your spirit, that's when maybe like if it feels like confirmation to you, then okay, cool. You can go in that direction. You can listen to that. But if something inside of you was like,
I mean, there's some crazy stuff out there, especially for women. There's always these men telling us what we got to be doing. And it's like, hold up, brother, what are you talking about? So you'll know, whether or not that information sounds like it's crazy. But it's really key. And like you said, confirmation. Sometimes we know the problems that we have, the areas we need to focus on, but we're, being purposefully oblivious to it. And sometimes it takes having or hearing that one person say something that just clicks and connects for you in a profound way that changes your life.
That's wonderful. Wonderful. So say a person is just like, you know what? I've done my inner work. I took this course. I feel good. I did that stuff. And now I am ready to jump on out there. They're not 100% sure if they want to get on like
dating apps and stuff.
But at the same time, it's like, well, I'm quarantining, so they like we going to, parties and stuff like that. So what would you say to someone who's just like, where do I begin in connecting with that man or that woman?
So starting all over, dating with intention is key. So spending a little bit of time with the why before you even get started is most essential, because I find that a lot of people waste their time for reasons that they shouldn't. It's like you don't have to actually download every single app that exists, because the truth is that all these people that you're thinking is going to be different from app to app is all the same people. We're all searching, so downloading a bunch of apps is just not going to be helpful. But there are ways in which you can reduce your time wasted. And the first way to do that is the need want list. So having some time spent on what it is that you want, what it is what you need, so that it's very clear about, what it is that you're doing when you're connecting connecting with people. So, you know, I've seen a lot of people, they go on these apps, they fill out the forms and they're swiping on through, but they're not really thinking about each individual that they're interfacing with. They're not even really reading profiles, or they're not even creating profiles themselves. Like no photos are on their profiles. They don't actually spend time writing the bio. And then, you know, the side to that is you're expecting someone to find you when you haven't actually put in the work yourself to make yourself available. So dating with intention also includes, you know, being purposeful in all aspects. So, you know, being clear about what it is that you need and want, using that as a guideline for how you're connecting with people and who you're connecting with. Because if you have no idea what it is that you need and want, it's really hard to find a partner that you really need and want. So it's counterproductive to not have that into focus. And of course, that is free. You know, you don't have to spend any money to really spend that time. I'm a big believer in the foundational work. Whenever I work with new clients, I spend the first 4 weeks just talking to them about themselves so that I can have an idea of who they are. And, you know, most people, when they think about what they're looking for, they go externally, but never internally. Thinking externally is, he needs to be tall, he needs to be this, he needs to be that, rather than internally, this is the person that I am, and the person that I am, and the life that I live, and the place that I want to go in my life requires X, Y, and Z. You know, and so spending that time at the very beginning of your search really eliminates all the time wasted later on. So that would be like where to start. And once you've decided, you know, which service to use, I believe in doing your research, because every app, every profile is going to be different, depending on what platform you use. Do the research and see what the success level is of that platform. You know, are they known for relationships? Like Tinder has a bad rap. I know a lot of people who, you know, have met people on Tinder, but is that an app for you? Maybe you need to be more of the Bumble type. Maybe you need to be more of the coffee meets bagel type. So it just really takes time, you know, or let me backtrack. I would say you spending the time at the very beginning could save a lot of time.
Got you. Okay. And just in case anybody was wondering if online connections can work, you and your husband actually met online initially.
Yeah.
You guys have been married and had just had your 18th wedding anniversary. So it is possible. Because I know a lot of people are just like, look, that's just not my thing. I don't want to do it. You know, but at the same time, right now, it's just kind of is, you're in that space. And that's kind of what's available. Not saying that that's the only way, because of course, you know, you can professional matchmaker. I mean, you can call up Jasmine, you reach out to Jasmine, send her an email and say, hey, hook us up or hook a brother up type of thing.
Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, I feel like this is anything else that you would just say to anyone that, so basically, no, I'll just say, basically it sounds like you're like, look, do all of the foundational work before you go out there into these dating streets. And it also sounds like it's just like, have a good attitude about it. Like, you got to believe that it is possible at the end of the day.
Yeah, absolutely. And I would add, you have to try before you know it's not for you. Because a lot of people like to use other people's experiences as a reason not to try something. So like what worked for your best friend might not work for you, but what didn't work for her might. So you never really know what might come to surface for you and the connections that can be made, but you have to try before you can say it's not for you.
Wow. Okay. All right. So, you know, that just means, so what you're basically trying to tell me is that me and Trevor, like, I could,
you gotta try, girl.
I'm trying. Like, I was trying, but I mean, maybe I could try a little harder is what you're trying to say. I was trying to keep my options open and not just think about everything that was on paper,
Yeah, no, you have definitely expanded your pool.
I did. I was trying, trying to take your advice. But we're going to see. We're going to see what's up, because I don't think he's interested in having kids. So I don't know if that's going to work out. So thank you so much. I really appreciate you. This is very eye-opening. And you've heard it here. Like, she speaks with singles and puts them together all the time. So there are men out there who are quality. There are women out there who are quality. And we all looking for each other. We all looking for each other. Everybody looking for each other. It is possible. So do your work to believe again, in case you was just like, child, I don't know. Do your work. Do your work to have faith that it is possible for you. Thank you so much, Jasmine.
Of course. Thank you for
let
the
people know.
invitation.
Let people know how they can connect with you, if they're interested in matchmaking and coaching, how can they connect with you?
Yeah, so you can find me at lovebyjd.com. I also have a planner, which Audra encouraged me to introduce, bayplanner.com, which is a really fantastic way to organize your love life.
Now, wait. Did they I need them to hear the name of it. I love the name. What is it?
Bay Planner, like day planner, but for your bay.
Ah, that is just so genius to me. Yes. Okay, please keep going.
And social media at the Jasmine Diaz. That's it.
All right. Thank you so much for being a part of this show and reminding people that love is possible. We're going to get the love popping off right now. All right now. Thank you.
Of course.